Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I am joined by Mark Mastriano and Jim Shorkey. And what we love to do is help people rethink sales and discover how to live out their mission. So, Mark, we wanted to have a conversation with you as a gentleman who is a physical therapist, actually Jim's personal physical therapist. I'm sure you kick his butt.
Always.
And we really wanted to bring you in as expert counsel, something we teach in the Rethink You 2.0 course and throughout our entire company is the importance of seeking expert counsel to figure out what you should be doing to achieve success. And so when Jim and I were thinking, man, who would be the next best guest? You came to mind. Mark, I'm sure we have some great questions to really scratch your head about what have you learned about this expert counsel piece and what can our audience yearn from you?
Okay, so we have to have a to-do list,
Yes.
which we're going to get from expert counsel, but we have a to-not-do list.
Oh,
So when I
yes.
work with Mark will look and say, come on, get down and do those push-ups. I'll say, no, you're not doing those. And so I was just talking. I said, yeah, I did 23 push-ups this morning. I kept my butt up like you had told me to.
Yep.
So we're learning. So it's not a question of what to do only, although that's really important, but it's also a question of what to not do. Like maybe Mark would say, you should really stop eating that, or you should really stop doing that over there. Our journey to get better at something, there's things that we should be doing, of course,
Yes.
but there's also some things that we should stop doing. So I want to make sure we don't leave that critical piece out of this discussion.
That's absolutely true. And Mark, you met Jim at a time where he had been recovering from a stroke. And so you came in with a stroke patient that you're trying to help. So what did you encourage him to do? And what did you say, man, Jim, stop?
So it's like Jim said, the biggest thing that I always harp on is it's quality over quantity. I think that in general, Americans, it's all about how many have I done? How many, they set these benchmarks, and sometimes the benchmarks are just unrealistic because to get there, you have to actually hurt yourself or take away from the proper form. And so with Jim, in his case, when you come in, you have to treat the patient, right?
Go ahead.
And to be a good physical therapist or have expert counsel, as you say it, I think that you have to really know your person, right? You have to know the guy or the girl that you're treating. So just reading that in a book isn't going to get there. And so when I came in to see Jim, he's the kind of guy that I found out right away. If I tell him to do 5 reps, he's going to do 25. As we already discussed, his quality is going to go down. So I found that out right away. So you have to really show tough love at times. Hey, you need to step back. And it's hard to do with some people who throughout their whole life has been a leader. Right. So that's one of the things that I really harp on in general is trying to figure out who this person is and how I can make them better. And sometimes you have to do that pretty quickly because people in general want this instant gratification, right? Ever since the creation of McDonald's, they want their hamburger in 15 seconds, right? So Jim, just like a lot of other people, he had a stroke. He wanted to be better yesterday. And I have to come in there and I have to give you hope, right? Because hope is so vital and important, but I also have to have fact behind it. So I think that in general with Jim, so we got him on a really good plan. I came in, I evaluated him. We had to check all the way from his vitals. He had a lot of pain at the beginning, which I'm sure he's talked a lot about. And so you have to figure out how to get around that, but also get done the work that we need. And again, with the don'ts, it's don't do too much. Because I always tell my patients or clients or whatever word you want to use, it should be a linear approach to get better. These people come in and I tell people you can't do 500 exercises in the last 10 minutes of the day. Because you didn't do anything the rest of the day. There's 23 other hours, you're just sitting there sedentary. So instead, and then if you do that, what'll happen is tomorrow you're gonna wake up because of muscle soreness, right? That's a phenomenon. We get delayed muscle soreness. So the next morning they wake up and they're so sore. And then guess what? Then they don't wanna do it. So then you start that whole process over. But if you do a little bit each day, you get that nice linear approach. So in the long run, you get to you achieve your goals. But none of this is going to happen quickly, unfortunately.
So what happens when you focus on quality from the physical therapy point of view versus quantity? Like what happens to your body? What happens to your muscles? What's the difference there for those who are listening?
So I guess from a anatomy standpoint or a physiological standpoint, what you need to understand is that how do I get stronger? I always use Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example, right? Because everybody knows him. If you've been living under a rock, you know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. How does he get those biceps, right? These big arms. And the reason, or the way that he does is he actually tears his muscle. By doing exercise, you get micro tears, obviously not big tears. We don't want that. But you get these micro tears in the muscle. And then by eating proteins and amino acids and other really healthy things, our bodies, which are miracles, say, oh, something was wrong in this bicep or their arm muscle, and sends help there. And that's what over time makes it bigger.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to be stronger is to not lose it in the first place, because the loss of muscle takes 48 hours to start. So if I'm going to get weaker in 48 hours, if I lay in a bed, that's the worst thing that you can do, right? 48 hours, you get what's called atrophy. And that is the start of the muscle breaking down. The muscle breaks down. I'm not going to get too technical, but the reason the muscle breaks down is it's so our bodies can survive.
Happened to me.
Yeah.
You can't believe, like, this is no bull. March the 6th was the day of my surgery. And so right off the bat, you're cut open, all that. And so I was in, I don't know when the day was that they got me out of bed, but I can tell you for a fact that I walked down the hallway. I think you might have been there. I'm not sure if you were, but I walked down the hallway, which wasn't even 100 yards. It might have been 50 yards with a walker, turned around and walked back, and it was time for a nap. I was that tired and hurting and all that. And then they started the physical therapy, and I'm not sure when that was. And we had a good time. So we started the physical therapy, and it was a bugger. It was very hard because I had lost so much being in the hospital. I was in the hospital pre-surgery for a month, pre-surgery, and post-surgery. I lost a lot from that. So I started at the hospital and was doing my thing. And then Mark was part of that thing, part of the whole thing. I just love this guy, love him. And I want to make a point here before I forget. We're committed for life because I think it's that important. It's not just physical therapy per se, recovering from the surgery. It's physical therapy preparing for my life at large going forward. What I want to say, though, is what we're doing here, Mark and I, that's exactly the same thing that you would do to improve your marriage. That's gives me the chills. Exactly the same thing you would do to improve your bank account. It's exactly the same thing that I did to build the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. No, it wasn't bodyweight squats. It wasn't push-ups. It wasn't plank. Yes, I get that. But it was disciplines. And it was a little bit every single day. So I had to make so many phone calls every single day. I had to run so many meetings every single day. I had to have one-on-one consultations with different salespeople every single day. And there was this series of disciplines that were just a little bit here, a little bit. For example, like you said, we have a sales meeting that's an hour long. And let's say the day's 12 hours long. So 9 to 9, right? We didn't meet all day long.
Right.
That's what you're saying, right? We don't do push-ups all day long. We can't. We'll freaking kill ourselves. Right. So we did the push-ups and we did the bodyweight squats. And then we go on to something else. And it might just be going for a walk, or it might be nothing physical. Okay, time to take a break. Let's do some meditating. Let's whatever. But the point is, though, is that what Mark is suggesting here, because I know you're thinking, why am I listening to a podcast about physical therapy? I'm fine. I just got back from the gym. I'm great. It's because the process of success, which is a process, the journey to success is a series of disciplines practice day in and day out for a series of weeks, months, and years. Yeah. And it's all about two very simple ideas, the to-do list and the to-not-do list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key to the listeners or the audience is that everybody, no matter where you're at physically, can get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can also get worse. And like I was trying to say before is it's so much easier to just skip that day, right? Than to go on and do it. But what happens is then you create a habit of not doing what you're supposed to, right? We all know that it's much harder to keep a habit than to break the habit. Yep. And so, like you said, if somebody had just got back from the gym, but were you doing what you should have did there at the gym? Were you just talking to everybody and walking around, or were you actually working out? It's what you want in life. I studied the blue zones, and we've talked about those. Yeah. So a blue zone is a group of people that live to be over 100, right? And these people notoriously not only live to be over 100, but have a great quality. That's the key.
Health span.
Yes. And so anyway, one of the things that they found out in these blue zones is that people there in these zones, Japan and Greece,
Okinawa, Ikaria, and actually Loma Linda, California.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them. There's several.
There's I think at least 6.
Sardinia is one.
Yeah. What they're finding is that these people are moving. They're exercising, they're working, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things in Okinawa is gardening.
Yes.
So we can expand on that for a minute. what if your grandmother or your grandfather loves to garden, but they can't get up anymore?
Yeah.
They can't get down to the
Sad.
ground.
It's very sad.
Right? So you need to start somewhere so they can now do that. You need to, there's all walks of life. There's always something that you can do today to make you a better person, to make you stronger, to achieve the goal.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so just to be clear, what Mark's talking about is functional movement. So we can lift weights and there's some function to that, but the functional movement would be, can you squat? That's functional movement. So in order to squat, you have to be able to do bodyweight squats. And the better you can do bodyweight squats, the better you're going to be able to squat to do what, Mark?
Be able to get up off the ground.
But also to do your gardening. Now, let's talk practicality here. We're the Pragmatist Podcast, which we've coined in the past. To be able to squat is really important. To be able to get down on your knees in the garden and then get back up. Unfortunately, in our society, a lot of people can't do either one. They can't get down on their knees. It's really hard to do as you age. Very hard to do. And they also can't get back up. They literally need a ladder to get back up. Because of Mark, I can get down on my knees and I can get back up. And if you're a car salesman, learn what to do from the best car salesman in the joint. What is he doing? Why is that happening? But the same exact things I did to build the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. One of them being, I went to Mr. Hamilton. Gives me the chills. And I told him, Mr. Hamilton, I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing. And I asked him for a list of 10 things that I should be doing to be a successful automobile dealer. And he called me James. He said, James, give me a minute. He says, James, come back tomorrow morning and I'll have a list for you. And I go back the next morning, he has this list and somebody neatly typed it up. He hands me this list and I'm looking at the list and it's, holy cow, I'm not doing anything on this list. So I started doing the bodyweight squats. I started doing the push-ups the right way. I started doing plank the right way. It's the same thing. Mr. Hamilton's advice was obviously more business-oriented, but I started doing the list. And in doing the list, I saw that needle start to move. So Mr. Hamilton was my Mark Mastriano. My Mark Mastriano today is Mr. Hamilton. That's what I'm trying to say to you, ladies and gentlemen. How is this guy right here any different than Mr. Hamilton?
No, it's expert counsel in different seasons of your life.
It's just a different guy, obviously, but he's giving me advice on my physicality. Mr. Hamilton gave me advice on my business aspect. But the bottom line is it's the same thing. So I'm using my knowledge of expert counsel to rebuild the body of Jim Shorkey. And Mark is my expert and really helping me out. And guess what?
You're moving the needle.
I'm doing it. In a physical sense, I'm moving the needle. And he can do the metrics and he'll look at it and say, holy cow. I just went to my cardiologist, Dr. Kleist, and my results from him are amazing.
Yeah.
But another thing, so ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gotten this advice yet, I want Mark to speak to having a joint replacement surgery and not doing your physical therapy.
First off, if you're cleared to have surgery, you should just get it done because it's going to be there. Most of the time, people need a hip done or a knee done or even a shoulder done because of arthritis. And one of the worst things that you can do with arthritis is to be immobile. But when your knee hurts, you don't want to move it. But what happens is if you become immobile, then it takes over the joint.
Wow.
And when it takes over the joint, now the rest of my functional ability is now going to suffer. I'm going to put on weight. And then what will happen, unfortunately, 5 years down the road.
Other knee.
Yeah, not only that, but the surgeon's not going to want to touch you now.
Okay.
Because now you're overweight. Maybe you have other comorbid.
Listen, because I'm 67. We're all getting older. Yeah. This guy's the expert.
You know, that would be the first piece is if you need it done, it's unfortunately, you're going to have to get done eventually because you can't rebuild that cartilage that's gone or you can't get rid of that arthritis unless they cut it out. And then after the fact, and now in this world that we live in Pennsylvania, especially, we have really good surgeons.
Yes.
I'm seeing people the same day.
Yeah.
So you're actually going in the morning, you're having the knee or the hip done or the shoulder or whatever. They're sending you home that day.
Yeah.
And I'm actually coming that day. That's unbelievable. Because one of the worst things that we used to do when we had hip or knee replacements is they kept you in bed for 5 days. So you have 5-7 days. You start to lose muscle after 48 hours. So now you have a knee done, it's in pain, and the rest of your body's starting to shut down because you haven't moved. So the physical therapy after that is so vital to the success of the replacement. It's going to hurt, but
Sure, it does hurt. But the point I want to make that really stress here, ladies and gentlemen, is prudent, and we're not allowed to give medical advice, so please, we're not. But at the same time, to do the surgery and then to not do the physical therapy, you possibly should not do the surgery. It's that critical to do what this guy does. You have to do the physical therapy. And believe me, I am, and I'm making progress. Do I have setbacks? Of course I do. Do I have bad days? Yeah. I just told you, Mark was looking at me doing push-ups like, no, you're not doing that. We need to fix that. And there's other things that he already knows that we need to fix. But the fact is that you have to do the physical therapy. If I want to recover from the stroke that I had, which was a pretty serious matter, 3 brain bleeds, I'm not making this up. 3 brain bleeds. How bad was it? It was bad.
It was bad.
And here I am today speaking to you, which I possibly should not be able to do. Moving my arms, which I possibly should not be able to do. Walking, rucking, bodyweight squats. If people look at what I do today, they don't believe that I had a stroke.
Yeah.
But I did. I think it's prudent to have a coach.
Oh, yeah.
To have
absolutely.
a coach, which he is. He's my coach. But I think it's prudent for somebody to look at your bodyweight squats and say, you're going to mess yourself up there. And then now you need a knee replacement surgery because you messed up on the squats. Yeah. So I think it's prudent to have a coach that's expert counsel that says, here's your to-do list. And come on, we got to stop doing this over. So there's a to-do list and a not-to list. That's what we preach at Rethink You. Get both lists and check them off every day, and you'll make. That's what Mr. Hamilton did for me. He gave me a list. I personally love my list.
Yeah. And I think, Mark, somebody might be listening to this and saying, I don't need knee replacement surgery, or I don't need hip replacement surgery. Someone like me, I remember thinking my first time in physical therapy, I'm a young guy, right? Yeah. I'm in my mid-30s. What do I need this for? And they just corrected me. I'm like, there's so much functional movement. I was already doing a decent amount, but there's more you could be doing to work on your muscles so that in 10 years, when your muscles aren't as strong, you'll have them build up. We need to work on this.
We do,
because your muscles need to be strong as you age.
Lunges is another one, which we need to probably bring in. Lunges, that's a tough move. Yeah. That's an injury-prone movement, right? I feel like I've hurt myself doing lunges. Probably the wrong way.
Very careful,
But it is one that you hear a lot about: lunges, bodyweight squats, push-ups. Yeah. But walking is a biggie. I do average 15,000 steps a day. And
which is a lot.
I remember, I remember but I said to Dr. Rosellis, who did the surgery, okay, and he's an expert. And I said to Dr. Rosellis, I said, Dr. Rosellis, what's the number one thing I can do to recover from what I just went through, the stroke, the surgery, all that? Walking.
Done. Yeah.
Physical therapy. Check mark. So yeah, I average actually probably closer to 16,000 steps a day right now. And I can prove all this. Right now, I'm probably at about 8,000? Mark knows, he knows that the Jim Shorkey brain is a little bit type A, just a slight.
Speak to that, Mark, because what should our audience be doing, no matter what age they're at, and what should they not be doing? I think you were just going to jump into that because I could see the passion in you.
I like what you said. I read somewhere one time, and that really hit home to me, is for the first 50 years, if we're lucky enough, right, to make that, your body takes care of you.
Yeah.
But then you're left with the next 30 years,
all the choices
40 years,
you made.
50 years.
I'm going for 72.
Yep.
There you go. We'll see. But the point is that
it's been done.
As a 29-year-old out there, you are going to get older, right? So what you're doing today should help you in your retirement, because we all want to spend the money that we've saved, right?
Yes, we do.
Watching this podcast, we all want to be able to be there to spend it, or to spend time with our children, or whatever you're passionate about, or gardening or whatnot.
Yeah, right.
But if you can't walk,
can you have fun with your grandchildren from a wheelchair? Of course you can. But shouldn't we try to avoid that? And so that's where this guy comes in with the functional movement. Let's get ready for 50, 60, 70, 80. And like Mark is saying, if you can't get down on the floor at 80, it's going to be more difficult. And the fact is that there's 80-year-old people in Sardinia, in Ikaria, in Loma Linda, California, in Okinawa, that are doing this.
Absolutely.
It's not BS. It's called the Blue Zones. Dan Buettner is his name. National Geographic is where you can get the snippet of it, so to speak. It's just to get to, and then he wrote a book called The Blue Zones, but it's in National Geographic. And again, these people, very high sense of community, very high sense of movement, very high sense of food. And it's, geez, I want to, and then you meet these people virtually, you meet them and they're so happy.
Yeah.
They're so darn happy. I want that.
Yeah.
And so I need you to help me get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think another thing with the blue zones that would relate to the audience is, like Jim had said, to have somebody to make you accountable is such a powerful thing. With that accountability and having somebody in your corner, one of the most interesting things that I absolutely did learn from the blue zones is, and I'll let Derek take a guess on this, right? Being lonely, how much does that take off on average
Big time.
from your life expectancy? Just take a guess.
I don't know, 10 years.
He's right. You nailed it. 10 years.
10 years. Just let that sink in. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
So 10 years of your life, and unfortunately, a lot of times, and again, this is why a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old should start to do something.
Yes.
Move that needle, as Jim would say, because when people get older and they can't do things, a lot of times they end up somewhere, right? And if they put you in a home, or if you have to go somewhere like that, then they start to get secluded, and then you get that lonely.
Tough. It's a really tough one.
And it's just, I think the life expectancy, unfortunately, of going into a home is 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
All we're trying to do is to be prepared
Yes, to make a plan.
to be in the blue zones.
Yeah.
Our own little blue zone. And so what Mark is saying is that when we're 80, if we're not getting ready at 60, 70, 75,
That's right.
that we're not going to be able to do the things like they do in the blue zones. This is not something they start at 7 even. They're starting at 2 years old. This is how they live. This is a lifestyle. But that said, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving medical advice, and I want Mark to speak to this. Mark, speak to this, please. Sitting is the new smoking.
As everybody else said, I'm not telling you exactly what to do. I'm not your doctor, so please don't call me and say, Mark told me to run a marathon and pass out. I'm not saying that. But as Americans, so we sleep, okay? We get up, we eat. Usually when we eat, what do? We sit, right? And then what do we have to do? Not as much now since COVID, but we drive to work.
Sitting.
We're sitting. We go to work, and now again, the construction jobs and things like that. But if it's a desk job, we're sitting. Then we drive home.
Sitting.
We eat dinner. Sitting. We watch TV. Sitting. And we go to bed.
Or laying down,
So our bodies are meant to be up.
And moving.
Unfortunately, the way that the society is, we're structured to sit. So you have to change that in your own life. And it doesn't have to be going from 0 to 100. And that's what I think that maybe one of the takeaway messages should be from my expert counsel. Nobody is telling you tomorrow to write down 37 exercises to do.
Big mistake.
Just do
Let's do
something.
one. Let's do two.
Start somewhere. Start slow. Just like building wealth.
Same thing.
You can't skip 50 years and then try to put all the money in your Roth IRA. It doesn't have time for that compounding interest, right? You got to start early and often.
Yes.
And whatever you do it properly. If you don't understand how to do it properly,
get a coach.
Expert counsel.
Get a coach,
Get a coach.
You better
find somebody.
Doing a better job than me, but
he's crushing it.
The coach is expert counsel, but he's right. Always put that in your brain. Seek expert counsel. I remember something Jim Rohn said. I love Jim Rohn, by the way. He was talking to an audience. He said, he was addressing somebody, and he said, "What's your blood pressure?" He says, "I don't know. I don't care." "You don't know? You don't care? We'll take your children." He's a wonderful, talk about logic, and he just makes sense. And he's where we stole make your downtime prime time. That's a Jim Rohn-ism, and I love that. Make your downtime prime time. So what is Mark saying today? You're going to go make your coffee, right? You're going to do it anyways. Why not bang out 10 bodyweight squats? Isn't that what we're saying? Why not just bang out 10 bodyweight? You can do some push-ups or do some stepping, whatever the case may be. Why stand over your coffee to be done? Not medical advice, please. Talk to your doctor first. But for me, that's the advice Mark's going to give me, and that's what I'm doing, is to do the bodyweight squats.
Right. Again, the number doesn't matter. Everybody is different. You got to start somewhere.
Yes.
Do one.
So good.
Before we close this out, because it's important. It's really important.
Sure.
We have to have a goal. We have to have a reason why. And I don't mean cry. Make us emotional. We're very emotionally connected, passionate about the goal, with the reasons why. And then we go to this guy to get the expert counsel. He could be a medical doctor. It's the same thing. He could be a dietitian, a nutritional expert. It's the same thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
He's absolutely right. If you want to set a goal physically, which most of our goals are either financially or physical, right? There could be some other ones, but that's, to me, is most of them, sums it up.
Right.
Even if it is financially, most of the time, if it's golfing, that costs money, right? But guess what? If you want to golf, you better have a core. You better be able to get up there and swing and have balance. A lot of these people that I talk to, they want to golf. They want to fish. How can you fish from your couch? You can't, right? They want to be able to walk their dog. Why am I here? It's because of all the things that you want to be able to do, that functional movement. And even if your goal is purely financial or selling the cars or whatever else, there's a functional piece to it. Start today, make a goal, start slow, start simple, and it's quality over quantity all day, every day. You shouldn't be hurting yourself. We are not medical. We're not giving medical advice, but we want you to start to move. We want you to seek counsel if you don't know what you're doing. It's not always Wikipedia, please.
No,
anybody
it's
can put anything on there.
Yes.
Find somebody, like Jim and Derek said, find somebody that knows what they're talking about and ask. Jim's told me multiple times, if you're the smartest guy in the room, what should you do?
Get out. You're in the wrong room. If you're the smartest guy or girl in the room, then you are a mentor. You're not going to learn anything. If you want to be better physically, get around a bunch of experts that really are physically fit. This guy did this, girl did that. Wow, these people are really into it. If you want to be nutritionally sound, get around people that are eating the right foods and learn from them. So if you're the smartest girl or guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. I really believe that in my heart. I want to hang around people that are better than I am.